No.
Yeah, but then eventually it was just like, I had a conversation with Duncan about this. Like I had a show there. Like he's a friend of mine. He was like struggling because he's like, yeah, none of these
Oh,
kids they don't go 15 minutes into Haleiwa. If it's flat, they're like in their bedrooms on their fucking computers, like
damn.
looking at Instagram or whatever. It really just it changed the social aspect of it, and I saw a lot of that just even the time when I was there.
Wow. That's sad, because the North Shore is, it's always been considered the country, but it's hard to put walls around all that, and everything changes. But it still looks like, I mean, Jamie O'Brien looks like he's having a lot of fun, and he's
Yeah, yeah.
he's able to kind of balance that, and maybe that's kind of for the young pros at least, that's a model they can kind of look at. I mean, like look at Ben Gravy in New Jersey, like. Yeah, he's a good surfer. He's not like,
But people don't. That's not why people are interested in him.
no, he's got a niche, he's got an angle, he's charismatic, he sends a very positive message. So, those are the things. It's maybe we shouldn't say you should be a brand. Maybe you should be a personality or a person.
Yeah.
Because that's really what it is. Like the personality makes a lot of it now with social media, podcasts, like. Being that a certain type of personality that people enjoy to engage with.
Do you remember when remember on Star Search they used to have a category for spokesmodel? That was like I'm going to be a professional spokesmodel. Like
I want
what's
to
the
be a spokesman. Hi, I'm Tim.
But that's basically,
I'm
that's
bald,
basically what
but I need.
it went from spokesmodel / personality to now you're like an Instagram influencer. What do you do? I'm on Instagram. You people follow my lifestyle. Did you see Casey Neistat was at the Surf Rants? Did you see that clip?
What's that?
Casey Neistat. He's like a huge. I don't know him personally, but
Yeah.
Ben Gravy made me think of that. He's a huge Instagram.
Okay.
blogger.
Oh yeah. Okay. He was
So
at the Surf Ranch.
He was at the Surf Ranch, yeah. So
Great. Who
he actually
cares?
did. They clipped some. I didn't know if he surfed or not, or if it was just like a full. He was respectable. He did okay. Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, it's like put anyone on a 10-foot board or an 8-foot board, even push them into a wave.
Yeah.
That wave, you don't have. I mean, when they slow it down for them, like they're not giving them the pro wave.
Oh yeah, you're
Like,
probably right. Probably not top to bottom. No
yeah,
barrel.
I'm pretty excited. I just saw a clip for that Korean wave garden. Oh,
Amazing. Whatever happened? What happened to the one in Australia? Did it break again? The one in Australia,
Surf
like
Lake?
the fucking
The plunger?
steampunk looking thing. Like, what is that?
they just released today a smaller version that they're making and selling, and they're calling what they have now the Surf Lakes an XL version, so that you can fit a smaller version into other places. I love the Surf Lakes model. If they can get that working on the regular, they get it working and then it breaks down. Like Tim Baker wrote a great piece on it. I'll send you. It's really good. But that wave, when it pumps, it's pumping. It's a sick wave,
And
but it
it's
keeps
just
breaking down.
The physics of it are just like
It's a
too
lot.
crazy.
It's
Yeah.
a lot of mechanics, and I think it's new tech that they're trying to really figure out how to make it reliable and work properly. But the concept is great. Imagine like fucking bumblefuck South Dakota,
Yeah.
lots of land,
Land's cheap. Yeah.
nothing's around. Plop a surf lake, sell property around it. Guess what? I'd consider moving there. Constant waves, or at least be, when I retire, I'll buy a retirement home there.
It's like a golf club model.
Total.
Yeah.
It's a total golf club model, which I think is kind of brilliant. And there's so much, like the surf industry is going to change. I think it's going to be less clothing, less gear, less of that stuff, more service oriented, coaching, lessons, everything with the
Wellness,
around the wave pool
training,
as opposed to
yeah.
clothing and all that sort of stuff. That's going to be the difference.
What's up with the one in Jersey at Meadowlands?
Well, in about 45 minutes, I'm interviewing Rob Kelly, and I'm going to get the scoop and skinny on that wave because he's there today, right now. I'm interviewing him from there. So That's going to be really cool.
So it was like it was on the verge before COVID, and then they got
They were supposed to open, I think like second week of April, and then
perfect timing.
Everything. Yeah, like Will Scooter and I were talking. He's like, "We're gonna get you in there. We should do a show from there." And I'm like, "Fuck yeah, let's do that." And then COVID happened, and I'm like, "What do you think's gonna happen in the pool?" And he's like, "We'll be back in there." And I think they can do it safely. So, and I know I have like customers, like people I work with who have stores in there, and it's slowly gonna open. They think.
That's really cool.
Fingers crossed. Hey, I gotta ask, like, so you started surfing in Santa Barbara, but it's like around 15, 16, and then your real surfing life though happened here in New York.
Yeah,
like
that would be so much better if I if I didn't move if I wasn't a New Yorker, I would be a much better surfer. Let me put it that way. If that answers your question, how hard it is to get good.
In New York,
Rockaway.
I grew up here, man. Like I know, I had to leave to get good. I had to travel. But it's funny. Like I've met there's so many people who've been in California. They come to New York, and they learn to surf in New York and not California. It's really interesting. What was that impetus? Who dragged your ass to the beach?
I wasn't. I grew up. My father was probably. He grew up surfing. He lived in the valley. And then we moved up to Carpinteria when I was about 10. And so I always was on the beach as a kid and grew up boogie boarding. He had Hobie cats. And so, I pretty much, when I transitioned from, boogie boarding to surfing was really only from about 15. And then, some about 15 to 16. And then by the time I was like 17, I was just more into like punk rock and parking lots and not really into, I don't know. It didn't captivate me. That wasn't my scene. And so, I moved to New York just to kind of get away from small town and, whatever. And so I didn't really rediscover the love and the culture of surfing until, probably my early 30s, ironically in Rockaway, and then I go back now and I'm just like, well, I was back there for Christmas last year, just before, COVID, and I got to surf Rincon, and it wasn't, dude, even shitty Rincon is just even flat Rincon. It's you're sitting there and it's dolphins fucking and it's just it's so gorgeous. Forget the waves, which are magic. Just the setup, and it's just getting to watch the sun set over the ocean is just so magical. On the East Coast or Rockaway, it sets over that half-built building on where
it's the crescent. It's either out slightly towards Staten Island, or it's going towards the city, but.
But also it gets back to what we were talking about in terms of just the horizons that I've gotten to have as a result of moving to New York and, those pro surfers. Yeah, sure. Ironically, they travel the world riding these amazing waves or whatever, but, their experiences tend to be kind of myopic. And, and if I would have stayed in Santa Barbara and if I had fallen in love with surfing as a 15-year-old, it's great. I get to surf Rincon all the time, but, that would be my life. For the most part, I don't know what I'd be doing.
So who got you to go surf in Rockaway? Was it like you just being like, I'm going to do this? Or were you talking to friends and they're like, come on, man?
No. So I kind of fallen into a little friend circle, a makeup artist friend of mine, this guy, Johnny Buick.
Great name. Justin J and Johnny Buick. That's you guys should have a TV show.
So we used to come in, and I had a buddy of mine who I was kind of, friend of a buddy who had a car, and they would drive out there all the time. And all of his friends were a bunch of deadbeats. He'd be like, hey, does anyone have any gas money? And then I remember this one guy, he had this he's like, oh, I only have this $100 bill, but it was the same one he'd had for 3 weeks. I was like, what that shit? And meanwhile in the back of my head, I'm like, dude, the fucking train round trip is $5, but here's $10, and I get picked up on Delancey Street and get private. So I kind of fell into that scene, and then I just met a lot of really fun people out there, and then ended up meeting Jimmy Dowd, who I'm sure you know.
Yeah, man.
The honorary
the mayor.
The honorary mayor
of Rockaway.
I call him. And so he I got a key to the bungalow with him on 88th Street, and so we've had this surf shack out there. I think it's been in the family for probably close to 20 years, and I've had it for 10, 12 years at least.
That's amazing.
And so that just allows me to kind of be like really a part of the scene out there and have boards and not be that guy with like 2 boards on the subway and changing on the boardwalk. And plus, like, I don't know, full disclosure, like I was never that dude who was going to get up at 4 and take the subway. Like I just like never got it together. So I would like take the subway at 10 p.m. and then just get up at 7 and be at the beach. Like,
it's a smart way of doing it.
Yeah, it's a pro move. Like,
when I was in college in the city, and I would get up. I was that guy who'd get up at like 5 in the morning. I was living in Sutton Place up there in like 52nd Street, and I would be walking to the subway, my board, and people are coming back from partying and being like, "Cowabunga, dude!" And you're just like, "Shut up!" Get on that fucking subway, and you're like, "All right." And then like coming back with all the wetsuit, just the water leaking out. We didn't have good wetsuit bags back then either, I didn't
even have good. I was thinking of. It's funny. I was thinking of like. I think my memories of surfing as a teenager, my biggest like emotional hallmark is just being cold. like a secondhand. Remember the Alita wetsuits that had the detachable sleeves? Like what? What kind of technology is that? I was just like, I'm a slender fella. I'm cold all the time. Like I always wear a wetsuit, and like I just remember just being like, this isn't that fun, dude.
My dad owned a surf shop, and we never had gear. We would have 5 mil wetsuit, 1 pair of gloves, 1 pair of boots, and have to trade, and be snow on the beach. One time, my brother and his friend, they were like, one would go surf with the boots and gloves, come in, and then the other one would go put them on and go back out. Like
you get the piss stained wetsuit.
What do you think of the change that's happened over at Rockaway over the last 20 years?
You know what?
You've seen a lot.
I've seen a lot of changes there. And, I think it's interesting. I think right before Sandy, I think there was like the momentum for the change that we've seen now. And there was a little bit of resentment. And, the best I can attribute it to, or it's almost kind of like the band that you were into in high school. It was kind of underground, and then it became really popular. And like, wait, but they
sold out.
That's my thing, dude. That's my, like, fuck that. And so there was a little bit of that, and then the whole kind of mustached Williamsburg, like infiltrator, like, that whole kind of, there's a little bit of that resentment going on. And then I think around the time of Sandy, after all that destruction, like those same mustached Williamsburg people are the ones that were like digging people's basements out and like really doing amazing work. And I think it kind of squashed that whole kind of ridiculous resentment. And there was this knee-jerk reaction to be like, oh, it was better back in the day. Like what? Like when there was washer machines on the beach, you know what I mean? Like
fucking needles, condoms, tar balls.
It's unequivocally more crowded than it used to be. But I mean, you could say that about anything. But I mean, just the fact that just a resort, there's 2 wine bars in Rockaway. I mean, there used to be.
But I love making people feel shitty, though. Like being like, back in the day, no one used to surf here. We were all by ourselves.
Yeah.
Pack of wild dogs on the boardwalk that mauled someone, but
feral pigs.
Yeah. It was like, it was crazy.
No, I have a lot of love for that place, and I think that there's still. I think all the movement has been almost exclusively for the better.
Definitely. I love it. I don't know about you, but I love the New York surf scene. I think it's very unique compared to anywhere else.
So unique. I mean, and we talk about, so it is crowded. I mean, like especially, during the summer or when there's lifeguards, you basically have, 2 jetties to surf at. But you surf tomorrow, there's no lifeguard. You have like the entire beach, and like especially if you live out there full time, like it's hard for me. Like I have a bungalow, but it's like you have to really like live out there to get it good because there's like these misted little windows. But like, dude, you and your friends can straight up have a jetty to yourself, and like where else can that happen anywhere else?
And they're going to add more jetties now over Bell Harbor and down, so that's going to change all of it. And I mean, I like it. I really do. Even though I get frustrated with some crowds and some people, I find the inclusion there amazing. Like it's a wide cross section of people.
It really is. And that's what, I mean, it's funny. I had Kasia Metter on the podcast a couple weeks ago, and we were
Yeah.
talking about, the difference between Rockaway and Malibu. And, with Rockaway,